Well, that's a lot. I mean, I that's a lot. Thank you for that. And for doing the work to pull that all together and show us that's the potential for us. In what we're doing here, when I shared with you about the creating meditation spaces, and the two things that I say on a regular basis is, one, that we're lifting the vibration of the planet one meditator at a time. It's kind of my mantra, and that I see a meditation space in every home and every place of work, and which is it's happening. Like remember 20 years ago, an in-home office hardly existed, or 25 years ago, or whatever, and now it's a standard to have an in-home office, and I see that having a meditation space in every home in North America and in Europe will be a standard. And
well, I think
it's a big vision.
I think we sometimes, if we look empirically at our brain, mm-hmm. our sight, our outer sight, mm-hmm. Is a very small nanometer range. Very small, mm-hmm. Compared to the electromagnetic spectrum. Our audio range is 30 to 30,000 cycles per second, compared to infra and ultrasound. Every one of our senses is finite. So we live as the finitude of humanity amongst the potential infinity of divinity, if that makes sense. So what we have in our senses is very bounded. But when we go into the mind, mm-hmm. If we limit the mind to our empirical world, we will think with very simple heuristics, and we'll make decisions with incomplete awareness. Mm-hmm. But if we go into the meditation, we have access to transcend that boundary. It may still be a boundary, but it will be a greater boundary. Mm-hmm. And that allows us to bring information to our empirical world, so we're not fooled by it and not filtering with such bias.
Yes.
And we have the approach. The great philosophers sought objective reason, from the Greeks all the way to today. And the purpose of objective reason was even-mindedness. Mm-hmm. Subjective means partial-minded, opinion,
yes.
bias.
Yes.
Objective, it means even-mindedness. You've taken the dialectic and you've integrated it into the synthesis, as Hegel says. So the liberty that comes from that is freedom, and the freedom of the world's running of you. You get to run your own life. Mm-hmm. And when you do, it's not a freedom that you now don't have to follow the rules of society. It's a freedom that you know how to take whatever happens to you and see how it's helping you be blessed by life. Mm-hmm. And that's a great liberty.
Yes. Well, I feel blessed to have found this higher purpose, this vision of helping, it's the world actually to create meditation spaces, and we're also sending a message every day to people that get, they come on our mailing list, and so we have a follow-up that they like become part of a community. So we're inspiring or sending inspirational messages on a daily basis to the people who have bought from us, and that's the ongoing plan to create that. And we've created an idea of, we call it Meditation Mondays. So I see in my vision that there'll be a meditation happening in people's homes all over North America on Monday evenings, and it's happening. And it started here, but it's growing.
Well, that's a full moon day, lunar.
Yeah.
Monday is lunas.
Okay, yeah, it's a good day to have it then.
Yeah, it's a perfect full moon meditation.
It's a good day to have it. So, wow, I think we've covered quite a bit, haven't we? Gratitude, the 7 facets of our life. You really nail it.
I was a carpenter when I was a teenager.
Were you?
So I must have learned how to hit my thumb very well.
I love your story, and I think that lots of times, like, and just for a second, I want to share that I'm 63, and we're very close to the same age, and part of what the message I want to carry to men and women in their 50s and 60s is that the game's not over. let's get in and find what it is that we're meant to do, because we've got all this experience now. Let's really, our best years are in front of us, I think, but a lot of us have come from humble beginnings, and you did. You were hitchhiking. You took off out of Phoenix, or where were you?
I was born in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
And I was, I guess, too adventurous to sit there. And I kind of left home when I was 13. And when I was 14, I decided to go to California, hitchhiked to California, and down into Mexico. So I snuck across the border to Tecate in Mexico and got in, and had to sneak out in Laredo coming back. But I
before passport.
Before Trump. Yeah, I was able to get across. But no, I've been an adventurer.
Yes.
And I did have some interesting, challenges in the beginning. But I think that the greater the challenge, the greater the life.
Yes. No kidding. Yeah. And you ended up in Hawaii, and that's where you met Dr. Bragg?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was a turning point, like I said.
Yeah, I love that story. So what's coming next? You've got another 40 years of doing the breakthrough.
Well,
I don't mean that facetiously either. I think
one of the great things that I have today in my life is I have somebody who's in the audience here, which may not be able to be seen, but I have a daughter, Elena, who is assisting me and gradually passing the torch to in some of the work that I do.
Nice.
And so she's now helping me in the programs, and she has a calling to bring that work out now.
Uh-huh.
So I've been blessed there. So that's one of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have, there's new opportunities weekly coming in.
Mm-hmm.
To help reach more people. Media, movies, TV, and writings.
Yeah.
And meeting people that have. I met a lovely lady in South Africa recently named Tony Luck.
Mm-hmm.
She's helped 7 presidents. She's a very influential lady. And she's helping us reach rural kids in Africa. I had a goal to reach, because I reach people who have access to media, millions of people, but not necessarily the rural people in Africa.
Yes. Yeah.
And she has mobile libraries that they go out into the areas where people don't even have any internet or electricity or anything, and gives a place for children to read. And so I'm going to get to have some of my products and my knowledge and videos and things like that, so I can reach kids that I would never be able to reach.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a cool thing that's happened recently. But I love researching, writing, traveling, teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do much else. I'm pretty well useless everywhere else. I haven't driven in going on 29 and a half years.
Really?
And I haven't cooked since I was 24. And I don't do much except research, write, travel, teach. I'm pretty well useless for everything else.
Chicken Caesar salads.
A chicken Caesar salad that Bruce and I used to eat. But I figured the best thing to do is to itemize what is truly highest on your priority,
Yep.
that is truly most meaningful and inspiring and fulfilling, and delegate the rest to other people so they have job opportunities, and just do what you're here to do.
Yes.
So I do that.
Yeah, I see that. Do you know Bob Proctor?
Yeah.
Bob actually, I saw him online because he's really out these days, and Bob's got to be 85.
84, I think. Yeah.
Is he? And which is really cool.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
He's one of the originals, and the last of that group,
Yep.
And he turned us on to Wallace. Waddles, yes, and which that book was written in 1910, an amazing piece, and so I think that we have, especially because of what's happening in healthcare and how well we're looking after ourselves, that there's no reason why we can't be doing this and inspiring people, into our 90s. And
Well, I have had 3 significant, you might say, missions in life. When I was 4, I met John Bateman, the catcher for a baseball team, the Colts,
Yes.
the Houston Colts. And he inspired me. And I got into baseball until I was 13. And then my parents moved when I was 12 to Richmond, Texas. And Richmond, Texas wasn't quite as organized as Houston was when it came to baseball. And it just kind of fell apart. I just lost my interest in baseball. And I took up surfing, which is my second sport. I started that at 9, but I really got moving at age 13. And I eventually moved to California, surfed in Mexico, across America, eventually made it to Hawaii. And I was a big surfer. My life was surfing. I got in some surf movies, surf books, surf magazines.
Yep.
I was a surfer guy, like Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
And then I nearly died at 17.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Paul Bragg right before my 18th birthday. And from there was, traveling and teaching. I wanted to travel the world, and I wanted to research and learn and overcome my learning problems and teach. And so that's been 46 years now. And I don't think that's going to probably stop. But I had this other fantasy that I was going to do. I was going to be an international sex symbol on the last part. That was going to be the last one.
It's coming up.
But because I have never trained in that, and I don't do that, that's probably a dream, a fantasy.
That might be a fantasy.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick to my teaching.
It's a shared fantasy.
Yeah. When Hugh Hefner passed away, I thought he was going to call me beforehand, but he didn't.
No call from Hugh.
No. So I'm going to stick to what I do best, which is research, writing, traveling, and teaching.
Yeah. Are you still reading?
Yes, I don't have I've done 103 presentations, I believe, this year, so far.
This year?
This year.
Wow.
So I'm on track for close to 380 probably.
Mm-hmm.
So I
include your breakthrough weekend.
Breakthrough.
Yeah.
Well, breakthrough is two speaking engagements, 2 days.
Yes.
So each day is one speaking engagement. So I do a lot of speaking, and then I do a lot of interviews and podcasts and stuff. And so the research now has to be more efficient. So I have people helping me, sending me research, specialists, and then I'm having to go through it, and I'm having to collate it and write it. But the hours of research that I used to have is pared down a bit, except when I'm flying and when I'm on my ship, and when I'm traveling, I'm able to get caught up then. But it's not quite as much as it was in my 30s, 20s, and but I'm still, I research every day. I don't go to bed without learning something.
Yeah, awesome. Now you see, I have your books laid out over there. Did I miss any?
Yeah, we've got a few of them now.
Yeah, you've certainly done well with your writing and sharing, and putting the information together so it's digestible.
I've probably done 300 books over the time with all of them.
You've written 300 books.
When I put all of the volumes together.
Wow.
Because a lot of them are manuscripts for programs and textbooks and things like that.
Is there more?
The popular ones are only about 40.
So is there more coming?
Yeah, there's been a discussion about one on grief. We're doing research in Yale University on my grief method that I've developed. That's a science. It's duplicatable, and they're trying to figure out how it works there. But a great professor there is researching it, and so we're doing a book on that next. Nice.
Well, I think it's a topic. I mean, it's a doorway into all of the stuff.
Well, people don't know that grief. There's two forms of grief: the perception of loss of that which you seek.
Yes.
Or the perception of gain of that which you're trying to avoid.
Okay.
That's also the definition of stress. Every stress that any human being will ever have in their life will be one of those two.
Yeah.
You could list any stress you could ever had in your life, and it'll always be as a result of a perception of loss of that which you're seeking.
Yeah.
And the perception of gain of that which you're trying to avoid.
Because in a way, stress is bullshit.
Stress is an incomplete awareness of the magnificence.
Yeah.
And it's an imposition of your finite, the finity of humanity's evaluations. And your evaluations are based on what you're too proud or too humble to admit that you own in your life.
Yes. Yeah. Back to square one.
So it's forcing us to be pleromic instead of konomic, and to embrace the whole and fill ourselves fulfillment.
Nothing
fulfilling
missing.
the mind, nothing missing.
Nothing missing.
I was in Nepal, in Kathmandu, and I just come in from Tibet. And we went to the Yak and Yeti Hotel, which is a lovely hotel there in Nepal, in Kathmandu. And everybody, we had just left at 2 in the morning and went through this amazing journey and saw 365 waterfalls from high altitudes coming down to lower elevations. It's an amazing experience. We got there, everybody wanted to crash and take a break, and I wasn't going to have class till 5 o'clock that night. And
you were teaching Kathmandu?
I was teaching there. And what was interesting, I went to this bookstore that was a block away. And I was in there and I found information on the bone faith that I'd never gotten to see before. And so I was just sitting on the floor just devouring these books. And the owner of the bookstore said, you're very dedicated to study this work. I don't see too many people wanting to study this. Let me bring you some books from the back on this. And I started devouring this. And he said, I'm going to lunch. I either have to lock you in or you have to stay out. I said, I'd love to stay in. I'll just stay here. I'll keep an eye on your shop. You can lock the door. So I did it. And afterwards he came back. He said, you still taking notes? He said, you're interested in this faith? And I said, I'm interested in all studies.
I've never heard of this faith.
Yes. Well, it was the leading Tibetan faith in the 7th to 9th century AD. It ruled Asia at the time. And so I said, I'm interested in it because I have not been able to find quality information on it. But I'm studying 3,000 different philosophical, spiritual traditions. And he said, my brother is a lama at the temple, the Bon Faith temple. And the Bonpo Lama is in town. Would you like to meet the Bonpo Lama? And I said, of course. So he calls his brother on a cell phone and calls over to the temple, which is on top of this mountain. And he says, if you go now, you can meet with the Bonpo Lama. So they got a rickshaw for me and raced me over to this thing. And I had to go up these zigzagging steps up. I was sweaty as hell. And I made it to the top, and then I got to meet the Bonpo Lama. And he's like the Dalai Lama, but the Dalai Lama took over from the Bonpo Lama.
Okay.
And so the Bonpo Lama greeted me, and we had a beautiful discussion.
English?
He spoke English. He had gone to Cambridge for comparative religious studies, but he was also many-lingual, polylingual. And but he said something, a big smile, and he says, nothing missing, nothing missing, all fulfilled. But man does not know and see that nothing ever missing. Everything here. And it's true.
Yes.
What happens is we
Nice
compare
that you found
ourselves.
that there.
We compare ourselves to other people. We put them on pedestals.
Yeah.
We inject some of their values into our life. When we do, we cloud the clarity of our own mission. We try to live in their values, which is futile. We self-depreciate to compensate, to let us know we're doing that, to try to get us back onto our authenticity. When we do, when we judge them, we're too humble to admit what we see in them is inside us, and therefore we have a void of missingness because of judgment.
To disconnect.
It's a samsara wheel, this
Yes.
judgment. So if we finally learn to love that person and have equanimity and not see them above or below us, but put them in heart, neither on pedestal nor pit, but in the heart, then all of a sudden we have fulfillment. Love is its own fulfillment. That's why Plato said that it's all about love. And that's what the Bonpo Lama was saying, that nothing is missing. It's in a form that is actually according to our own highest values, but we're subordinating to others and expecting it in a form and therefore missing it.
Yeah.
We only make a mistake when we compare our actions to somebody else's values. And we only think they make a mistake when we compare their actions to our values.
Yeah.
When we don't compare, we don't see mistakes, and we see the order.
Wow. Wow. So this weekend, you're obviously going to take people into individual situations so they can actually see that.
Yeah.
And have an awakening.
Most people don't know their magnificence,
Yes.
and they're caught in insignificance.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing, the work that you've done to bring this message, to so many. It's amazing. I've always felt that your work has touched so many, and it's a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Can I just want to tell our audience again where you're going to be this weekend, and how they can get in touch with you.
Well, tomorrow night I'll be at the Marriott, I believe.
Yes.
In Calgary, downtown.
Yeah, downtown on 9th Avenue, right across from the Calgary Tower.
Yeah, and I'll be doing how to bounce back from hard knocks.
Which this town needs.
How to transform perceptions. Because
you're going to say nothing's missing.
Well, but we only have control over three things in our life: our
Yes.
perceptions, decisions, and actions.
Yes.
And so I'm going to show people how to transform their perceptions, decisions, and actions, and take what they think is a hard knock, and what creates it, and why it's being created, and how it serves, and so they can liberate it, and then get on. On the next night, on Thursday night, I'm not sure where that is.
The Ramada by the airport on Thursday night.
We'll be by the airport at the Ramada.
And the group, do you know, did we find out, James?
Alberta Learning Abilities is the person that's hosting it.
About 7 o'clock, is it? Yeah. 6:30.
And I'll be talking about awakening genius in anyone at any age.
Oh, wow.
How to wake up genius, because I believe that there's a hidden genius in all of us. And I've done enough of it with enough people to convince me of that.
Yeah, you don't believe it, you know it.
Yeah, I've seen it. So, and then on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I'll be doing the Breakthrough Experience from 8 till at least midnight, and from about 9 till about 7 or 8.
At the Marriott.
At the Marriott.
Wow.
Downtown.
Is there room still to?
Yeah, we'd love to have anybody who would like to join us. I will say that it's not for everyone.
Well, it is.
Everybody can benefit by it.
Yes.
But it's not a rah-rah.
No.
It's not standing on chairs.
No, it's work.
It's actually a deep introspection and reflective realization of the magnificence that you may never have discovered in your life.
Yes.
And it's about helping people master the skills that they don't even know they have to do something extraordinary on planet Earth.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll put all of the details of that on this broadcast today. And John, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us here.
No, thank you. Thank you for letting it come out. And thank the people here in the audience for in being here.
Yeah. Awesome. Love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you soon.